safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we're taking the quest. Join Tarcia on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey podcast. I am your host, Tarcia Smith, and thank you so much for joining us on yet another week and another journey. Today, before I go on, you guys don't forget to go to Patreon and check us out on Patreon. You're going to get all things over there because I'm all about healing the mind, body, and soul. So you're going to get workouts, recipes, special clips from these podcasts. So check us out on Patreon. So I am super excited for this story because y'all know, if you know me personally, you know when I do my interviews, I don't know a lot going in. So we're learning together. And I want you all to welcome in the building. I have Keith with me today. Hey, Keith.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for joining us. So Keith is a fellow adoptee and he is a transracial adoptee. So since I already know you're a transracial adoptee, my first question is going to be, how old were you when you found out that you were adopted?
I was 33.
Late discovery adoptee. Oh,
Yes.
this tea is going to be hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
33. Okay, but you're a transracial adoptee, so I have several questions.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to start with your adopted parents. Okay, first let's start here. What are you? What do you identify as? What are you?
Well, by blood,
yes.
My biological mother was Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And my biological father is Hungarian, Jew.
Okay.
Jewish.
And so you were adopted by
my adopted father, I guess, Italian, and my adopted mother Jewish.
Ah, okay. So. All right. So you spent your entire life just living your best life because why would you think anything different? Tell me about that. How was your childhood growing? Tell me about that.
Sure. So I'm one of 6 kids that I grew up with.
Okay.
It turns out that I'm the only one that's adopted.
That was my next question. Okay.
Everybody knew I was adopted.
Oh, wait a minute.
Even my little sister.
Are you you're not even the baby.
Yeah,
so everybody.
Yeah. They all knew. Even their husbands and wives knew. Even some of my nieces and nephews probably knew. So yeah.
How? Especially your younger siblings, like.
Yeah.
So how did they know? I get your older siblings, but like your younger siblings, like how did they know?
Yeah. So basically, I guess I'll give you like sort of like the age range. So like,
okay,
my oldest sister is like 10 years older. The sister below her is like 8 years older than me. Then my oldest brother is like 6 years older than me. Then I have another brother that's like 3 years older. I have a little sister that's like 2.5 years older. 2.5 years younger.
Okay.
So for her, they said when she turned 18, she was like in the attic, getting some documents, probably ready for college or something, and then she saw a card that said, "Welcome, Keith, to the Cirillo family." So, and then she kind of, I guess she must have had a conversation with my mom or something.
Well, usually siblings say, "Hey, come here, let me show you what I just found."
Yeah.
She didn't do that.
No, she didn't do that.
Well, did she do that because your parents said, "Don't tell him"?
Yeah, I'll tell you. My mom put the fear of God in all of us. Just with everything in life, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'll add this: my adopted parents divorced when I was 4, so I didn't see that guy till I was like 22. My adopted father. So like I thought they said I looked like his side of the family. You know what I'm saying? Because like I didn't grow up with him. He wasn't around. My mom was raising 6 of us on her own for a while. So
do you see my mouth is just open right now?
Yeah. So they went to extremes to hide it. I look very different. But they said I look like his side of the family, which I'm not related to any of them. So it's kind of
right. So your mom, do you? Because I know this is late discovery, and you may not know the answer to this question. Do you know why she decided to adopt?
She just said something she always wanted to do. I mean, one of those things. It was like, I guess I was born in '79. I'll be 45 this year,
Okay.
and it's probably a thing back then. It's like buying a car. Right? Like, oh, I want to adopt a kid.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
I'm just like,
That's what
okay,
she said.
did you feel different? Did
Yeah,
you feel out of
always,
place?
always felt different.
Wow.
Even growing up, like some of the kids in the neighborhood when I was like 6, 7, 8, they used to call me a dirtbag because I'm like three shades
Darker.
darker than my family, and I would take like 5 baths a day when I was like 7 years old because I wanted.
Oh.
I didn't know why.
And
Why.
when you're doing this or when you're being teased, like, for this, is your mother aware?
I don't know, because to be honest, probably back then I was probably afraid to tell her.
And then back then, because I'm not that much older than you, back then, kids, this is just what we did back then. We played
Oh yeah,
outside, we talked about each other, and then we went home. That's just
yeah,
what we did. Yeah. So I get that. And so you just grew up and everybody knew but you. And for your older siblings, was it also because they were so afraid of your mom and it's kind of like, oh, this is just none of my business, or like we're just not going to tell them, or
yeah. I mean,
I just
basically, kind of.
I
That's
just
kind of like I remember one time one of my siblings. I think I must have been about 11 or 12 at the time. He got really pissed at me. This is when we were living in Brooklyn, New York, and he just yelled. He's like, "You're adopted," or something like that. I was like, "What?" And I went to my mom and told her. I didn't see him for like an hour.
oh.
I mean, it never came up. It never came up again. So, I mean, trust me,
Oh.
she put the fear. I mean, she didn't like. It wasn't like really like she put it this way. I was a tough kid, so when she hit me with a belt, I would laugh at her. It's not like I was abused,
Okay.
abused. You know what I mean? But she just was. She's like 5 foot, 5'1". She's scary. You know what I mean?
Don't come for us short
Yeah,
people.
one of those. And I mean, that's the thing. Like that's how. That's how.
Yes, I understand. No, I get that because I have sons and they're taller than me, and I don't care.
Yeah.
So I get that.
And we went to New York. It was rough out there back then. She
Yeah.
had to be kind of tough, I guess, on us.
We'll go ahead and turn that corner.
Yeah,
How did you find out?
yeah. So okay, so I found out officially when I was 33, right? But I can rewind about 8 years prior to that when I was 25. At my daughter's first birthday party, one of my cousins said, "I just found out about you." So what do you mean? Said that you're adopted. I said, "No, no way." And I showed him my birth certificate. But this is before I knew what an amendment certificate was.
Right.
It's like, no, I said my parents' names aren't here. And he tried to backtrack it. But within the next couple of days, I called everybody in my family, asked if it was true. And they all said, no. So what do you think? Or like, they just like laughed it off. So that's why I don't consider that when I really found out. Because I kind of put it in the back of my head because
I
nobody,
mean, the whole family was like, "No, we're not telling him. We're
yeah,
not going to be the
basically.
ones to tell him anyway."
Exactly. So that's why I said like, that was 25. That's why I said at
Right.
33 is when I really figured it out because I went to a funeral.
Hold on,
And
wait. I have, before you go there. So
yeah,
at 25, they drop this on you, and then they start backtracking, backpedaling. Now this is in your brain. Do you continue to think about this, or you just kind of let it go because everybody's like, "No, no, no."
I was too busy raising my kids and
Got it. I get that.
being a husband and
Yep.
working.
Life.
It was back there somewhere. It was
Mm-hmm.
there somewhere. But every time I would try to like get a taxi at night or when I try to return something to the store and they would treat me like a criminal, those things did start coming back. I'm like, maybe I'm not this like
Ah,
white guy that I think you know what I mean, like
I hear
because
you.
I mean
No,
I have very Latin features.
absolutely, you do.
And
Until you told me, yeah.
I mean I'm a brown guy basically
Mm-hmm.
in the world. So a lot of things like that really did spark it. But it wasn't until I went to a funeral. It was my grandmother's sister that died. I went to give one of my cousins a hug. I hadn't seen her in many years, and she looked like disgusted that I was giving her a hug. It was weird. So I was like, that adoption thing they told me. So let me look into that again because I was like, maybe I really am a stranger. Um,
Oh, well, why was she looking to? Did you ever figure out why she was looking disgusted, or?
I mean, all I could think about was like that I'm not really related to them, like that was the thing. I was like, oh, that adoption thing they told me,
Okay.
maybe that could be true.
Okay. So then what did you do next?
So then I worked at a law firm, and I asked like some of the attorneys to help me figure it out,
Oh,
which they
you
really
worked at the
couldn't.
perfect place.
But they really couldn't do much. All they could do was like they told me to visit vital statistics, so I did that. I had my certificate on me, and
What
they
did you
told me,
find out when you went to Vital Statistics? Yeah, what did you find out there?
well, all they said is that they said we can't tell you anything. They said order your long form birth certificate. So I ordered my long form certificate, and that's when I saw like the cross out numbers, like an extra number on there. They have like this wording at the bottom.
Okay.
That it's like this legal stuff that when you look it up on the internet means like adoption. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
and then plus also on my amended certificate, it was filed 2 weeks after. On my long form, it was 4 years after. You know what I'm saying? Like I was born in '79, it was filed in '83. So of course I figured out that's when I was officially adopted when I was 4. Like this is stuff that I
Yeah,
learned.
after that, right, you're putting this together. So you get your original birth certificate. Are your birth
Not,
parents'
I'm sorry.
names? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Are your birth parents' names on this long form birth certificate?
No, no. Well, the long form that I got back then, that it was still an amended one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
That was before New York opened up their
Oh, they hadn't opened up. Oh, all
Yeah, because
right.
this is like 12 years ago that all this came about.
Okay. So
Um,
you have this long form, but at least now you have proof that you are adopted because of what was
yeah,
on
yeah.
there. So
So
how do you go about it? Like, what do you do
yeah,
next?
well, the first thing I did was I registered with the New York Adoption Registry because they said if you are adopted, they'll be able to send you some non-identifying information.
Yeah.
But instead, what happened was within a couple of weeks, I got a response said, well, someone out there is also registered. So it was my biological father, and that just like that was all the proof I needed. Yeah.
Wow.
So he
So I need to get back to when do you tell your mom, hey, the gig is
oh
up? I know.
once I got that letter back from Vital Statistics saying you know your your birth mom is Puerto Rican, your birth father is, they call it American. That just shows the mentality back then, right? She's
Yeah.
Puerto Rican, but he's American, right? Like crazy. But um, I called her. I said I know. I said I know now. She
And
said
what she
what?
say?
So I said I know that I'm adopted. She's like I'm going to sue the state of New York. Like so.
Okay, girl. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of reaction. It was
That's an
serious.
old school mentality right there.
It was
Yeah.
seriously like that kind of like. She's like, she's like, you hate me, you or something like that. Like, I'm like, oh God, like
Here we
I
go.
don't want to get into like the psychological part of it, but that's like
No, I totally I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
Did
So
you
that,
let her know that you didn't hate her? Like,
well, yeah, I was just like, I mean, I guess I was kind of numb for a long time, for a while after it hit me, but it wasn't like really surprising, if you know what I mean. Like, it
yeah.
wasn't like a total shock. Like, there are some discovery adoptees, they look like their family, so it's like, wow, I look totally different than my family.
Right, right.
So it's like, oh,
So
it just makes sense.
did it take you a minute to process this? Because you had been like it's been in the back of your mind, but now when you know,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
long does it take you before you decide to make contact, or do you make contact?
Yeah. So as a part of the adoption registry, one of the things, it's like a mutual consent thing. If me and my father wanted to actually connect, so
Okay,
I did that right away. I'm like, yeah,
right.
let's talk, whatever. But remember, I'm late discovery, so it wasn't this feeling of like, oh, the father I missed my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just being
No,
honest.
I
Like,
love that you said that. Yeah,
I,
but
I was robbed. I was actually robbed from that feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, no, I don't. You know what? Let me tell you this. I'm not a late discovery adoptee. I grew up knowing, and I never felt like that.
okay, yeah, and I just
It
never
just
had that.
depends on the person, I guess. Yeah,
Exactly, yeah, 'cause I know it goes either way.
yeah.
But yeah, we connected. We got each other's phone numbers. We called each other. We talked for like 2 hours, and that's when he started telling me some of the others about the other side, like my biological mother. So over the years, I've gotten more choosy about my words,
Okay.
but I'll start with saying that she had 8 kids, and we were all given up for adoption.
Oh, wow.
So 3 different fathers.
Okay.
So me and my biological father had 2 kids with her.
All right.
So we have one full sibling. But you could just imagine stuff she's been through. I mean, a lot of drug use back then, couple mental illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
She was forced into a certain line of work to provide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody's gonna know what that means. It was that kind of lifestyle. She didn't choose it, and but they were both drug addicts at that time.
Oh, wow.
It was I would think it's a codependent type thing. He was 7 years younger than her.
Oh,
So,
wow. Wow. Okay.
I mean, he's a white guy. She's a Puerto Rican lady.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he thought it was cool. So I don't. I'm just being like whatever.
Do you happen to know what made him do the registry?
Yeah, well, I think he said he was at church one time. He was talking to one of his friends who's adopted,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like 10 years before I registered. And then he said, yeah, why don't you register with the registry? So he put his name in there, and but it wasn't until like 10 years later that I came around and
Right, and decided to do it. And here's my next question: if you know the answer, if you want
Yeah.
to answer,
Yeah.
Did he know about you and
Oh,
your
yes.
other sibling?
Oh yes, actually, surprisingly, I had his last name when I was born,
Oh,
which is
okay.
really interesting because, I mean, there was 8 of us. I'm number 7, so she had 4 by one guy. I think she had them for a couple of years. They were taken away. The second 2 was like this agency already knew about her, so they probably kept in touch with her. Catholic Guardian Society, they're a subsidiary of the famous Catholic Charities, So that kind of, it's in that realm of things. And by the time I came around number 7 and I'm out, it was like inevitable we were going to be given away.
Right.
But it was crazy when I started finding all these siblings, because I had to try to find them and all that. Some of them had her last name and some of them had the father's last name. I don't know how they chose. I think just like when the baby was born, they're like,
I'm giving this last name. Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's honestly all I can think of. Like, they were drugged out of their minds.
So have you made contact with the birth mother?
Well, she passed 2 years before I found her.
Oh, okay. What about anybody in yeah, for sure. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
What about anybody in her family?
Oh, yeah. I've been in touch with a bunch of cousins, some aunts and uncles, my grandparents on her side.
As a late discovery adoptee, what does that feel like when you start to connect after going through your entire life thinking one thing?
Yeah.
And then at 33, like, okay, this is what it really is. How does that feel?
Yeah, well, for me personally, because I know we talked earlier about how it depends on the person with a lot of things. I'm the type of person, like, put it this way, I never really asked for much growing up, if that makes sense, because, like, I never expected much. Because I wasn't even really allowed to play sports growing up, or like, the ice cream man came down the street. No, like, so I wasn't a spoiled brat. It's like, damn, this is life. Like I'm always dealt rough cards, so why should I expect anything less? It's unfortunate that I had that type of feeling, because it was like a confidence thing, right? It was like oh, I've been kicked around my whole life. Like, what's this now? You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like why wouldn't my family lie to me my whole life? Like, why wouldn't everybody betray me? Like, this is how people are. Like, I mean, I hate to be cynical like that.
Yeah.
And I'd be going to church for a while, so I'm like, after all that happened, I'm like, damn, God really is the only one I can depend on. Because, like, seriously, like, I don't. There's a lot of people in our community that they turn away from God because of the things that happen to them. But I'm the opposite. I'm like, look at people. Look what people do. Of course, I'm going to rely on the invisible man in the sky. And when I get to heaven, one day, everything's going to be okay.
For sure. Oh,
but I'm not gonna fast forward that process either. Because I'm not gonna let people have that power over me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live as long as I can. Plus, I got my own kids, so like I gotta live as long as I can for them, And I really hate that. I hope it doesn't sound arrogant when I talk like that.
Nope.
Because I'm just like, what else? Like, seriously, I don't know. And you can sense there's a little bit of like that angst, and there's feelings going on in there.
For sure. For sure. For
It's not just like
sure.
out whatever. You know.
I also want to ask, once you find out all of this and you loop back around to your siblings, what do they have to say?
Yeah, a lot of them, some of them did in their own way, a little bit of regret, remorse for not putting it out there for me. You know what I mean? I think there was a couple of times over the years that they had planned to maybe all get together and tell me, like they were doing. But then again, they
Mhm.
had their lives too, raising kids, all that stuff too. So it just
But
never.
here's my, I don't know. Here's
Yeah,
here's what I have to say to that. Yeah, they
yeah,
have their life and they're raising their kids, but I don't know what that has to do with
I know,
telling you.
I know. Yeah, I always feel like when my daughter was born, my older one,
Hmm.
I feel like someone should have just told me right away.
Yeah, because
Or
now
like
you're
when
having
I got married,
kids.
or when I got married or something. You know what I mean? Like he's
Mm.
having these moments of life. Let him know more about himself. Like I feel like that's what it should have.
And now at 33, how old were your kids?
Yeah, my daughter was like, I guess she was around 9 at the time, and my son was probably around 3 at
Okay,
that
he's
time.
too little, but
Yeah,
so
so
yeah, he was too little. But the 9-year old, I mean, she knows family now. So
yeah,
now, how did she understand?
yeah, it slowly started making sense to her. And I gotta say, my biological father, he's been a consistent person in our lives,
That's so
which
cool.
has been very helpful. So they have a grandfather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'll call him a friend or even like a brother, but he's the grandfather. You know, what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't do the whole father thing. I don't
And
know.
right,
I mean, he
right.
is, but and
You
he,
by title, yes, but by
yeah,
relationship, let the chips fall where they may,
yeah,
and we're gonna take it.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. You don't even have to label it. It just,
right. So
yeah.
there's more to that story too. So my biological father and his wife have a son that they adopted. So, and this boy has the same birthday as me.
Wow.
Well, he's a grown man now, but he's 22 now. But when we first met, he was a little boy. He was like 10 or 11, but he has the same birthday as me. So it's kind of interesting.
So I'm so curious. Like, what made them adopt?
Yeah, well, I guess things must have happened for them, and then adoption
Mm-hmm.
must have been an option for
The
them,
option for them.
and I do feel like maybe it's also like something in him, like the second,
A second
kind
chance. Yeah,
possibly.
because
And,
I
and
can only
he's kind of expressed that over the years too. Yeah, it's kind of
because I can only like when you were born, based on what you said, he was in no shape to take. Yeah,
no,
no shape to take you, which was why the state was like, "All right, here we go."
yeah. But he's completely turned his life around. Even
That's
to
so
adopt a
amazing.
child, you got to have
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
squeaky clean, background.
Squeaky clean.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he has a business. He's a mover. So he has a moving company. So he does jobs up and down the East Coast. And
Okay.
I live in Maryland. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. So that's
He,
not
yeah,
horribly
he's
far.
all over the country. So
Yeah.
whenever he does like a job like in New York or Jersey or Maryland, he'll stop by here. So like
That's
I've
so
been able to
cool.
see him. I probably see him like maybe 3 or 4 times a year now. Because of that.
That's so cool. Do you have
So,
the same kind of relationship with your birth siblings?
some of them, couple of them, right? Well, 2 of them had passed before I found them.
Oh, okay.
Couple, like one of them's like some happened. I think he had like diabetes or something, but something happened in prison or something. And the other one, he kind of had diabetes too, and I heard that someone put some in his medicine. So a couple of them had some rough roads, and of course
Mm-hmm.
stories are stories, so who knows what to believe.
Right.
But 2 of them passed before I found them. Another brother, I got to know him a couple years before he passed. He was only like 46 when he passed. Uh, the 2 other ones were like in their 30s when they passed. So
And what kind of medical information did you find out about
yeah,
yourself?
a lot of stuff like that. Diabetes things is high up there in my background. But I got my physical every couple of years and I'm good, thankfully.
Thank
Colon
God.
cancer. One of my uncles had colon cancer. He passed when he was like probably 68 from it.
Okay.
I got
It's
to know him.
so
My grandfather on my mother's side, he had cancer, but he beat it. I mean, he lived to be, I think, like 95.
uh,
He just passed about 2 years ago, but I got
okay.
to meet him a couple
You got
times.
to meet. That's so cool that all these people that you got to meet, even at 33,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, your mother and your a couple of siblings, but it sounds like you still got a chance to meet, and then
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so cool that you have this relationship
Oh, yeah.
with your
I,
birth father.
Yeah, it's been an adventure. I just got to know people, and like I guess I will share a little bit about, since I'm talking about grandparents too.
Yeah.
There's a lot in our history like trauma.
Okay.
So my grandfather on my biological mother's side, he was in World War II, so he went through that whole thing. But then on my biological father's side, his parents are Holocaust survivors. So,
Mm.
and I got like documents, I got like testimony that his aunt did, and I learned a lot about that side of the family too, with all that stuff.
See, it's so important to know your history, know where you come, just know who
Yeah,
you are. It's so
yeah.
important.
Like honestly, like there's so many things. Like I don't have a psychological background, all this other stuff, but I just know like it's like trauma that like is in generations. It stays in you.
Ooh, talk about
Like
it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I would know.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know.
it's like
It,
some of this angst and some of this little bit of anxiety I have, it's like a steady anxiety. It doesn't show like some people are. I'm
yeah.
just like it's always there though,
Yeah.
and it shows up in different ways.
And it comes down generation after generation. That's why I say it's also so important. Even if, like, there's some adoptees that say, "Oh, I don't want to know," and it bothers me because I'm like, you don't have to go out and have a relationship, but you might want to know what's going on in your family trees, in your bloodline, medically, mentally, this stuff. Like, who are these people that came together to make you, and
Yeah,
then why did you move the way that you do?
exactly. I'm telling you, there's so many times in my life that I felt awkward or this and that, the other. And I'm like, damn, like, look at my biological mother's, like, she has schizophrenia and, like, God knows what else. The schizophrenia thing, obviously, like, I know I don't have it because, like, I'll be
Right.
45. But there's some other little things, like, I'm like yeah, like, I have little issues that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's going on, but I've been trying to get someone to diagnose me, but they don't. But that could also be a problem, too. But,
So are you going to therapy?
well, yes, I've been seeing a therapist for about a year now, actually.
I
Yeah.
love to hear that because I
Yeah,
am really
finally.
pushing that
Yeah.
narrative
Yeah.
because, and especially as a man,
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've over the
What
years I've
made you
done.
go? Let me ask you that. Let's start there. What made you go?
Sure. So to be honest, just knowing a lot of adoptees over the years. Also, I'm on the board with CASE, Center for Adoption Support and Education.
Okay. Yeah.
You probably heard of them, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they have this emerging leaders board. We're all adoptees, and we kind of give them input. We write blogs. We do support groups for them. And I finally like went to one of them. I said, "Can I talk to somebody?" And like, it's someone that's affiliated with them, but it's not through them, because a lot of
I
therapists, they have
understand.
their own practices
Right.
besides working with organizations. But yeah, we do like Zoom calls every few weeks, and I see her all the time at like events and stuff, because we
Yeah.
like if we have a gala or a kids carnival. Um, it's been really helpful because it's really really after therapy, I'm always like, damn, I'm like, I don't know, I'm not as like whatever as I thought I was.
Anxious or not as, yeah.
Whatever, like I'm not as broken, I'm not as messed up, I'm not as different from other people. I'm like, and of course, like going to church has always helped me. I started connecting with a men's group about 3 months ago. It's actually called Men's Alliance. So we do like a workout, a devotion around the fire. And then sometimes, like, when one of them would get up there and be like, I suffer with like whatever, lust or this. I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, I've been through all that stuff too. Like, it, it's just crazy. Like,
No,
and
it's so amazing to hear you talk about this because I've been talking about this on this show about I
yeah,
pray and therapy.
yeah, and
Do both.
I grew up Jewish. So like, God wasn't really in the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
But then, well, I said to my ex-wife, I don't want to talk too much about her, but she's from the
It's
Philippines.
fine.
She's from the Philippines, and they're Catholic and all that stuff. So I started going to church when I first met her. But then
Mm.
after my discovery, that's when I really became baptized, and it just hit me. I'm like, damn, God's been looking out for me the whole
The
time.
whole time.
Like
The
all that
whole
stuff,
time.
It's like, damn, like so many different times. Oh, it's just amazing. Like the good and the bad. I,
All
I,
of
I
it.
appreciate it all. Like,
All of it. Yeah, because all things work together for the good.
oh yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so like there's a
All
lot of stuff.
things.
So there's one more thing I definitely want to talk about. So my full-blooded biological brother, the one that lives in Vegas, right?
Okay.
So I found out that he had 3 kids that he had given up for adoption with 2 different mothers.
Okay.
But 2 of those kids, their family lives in Indiana, and I connected with them, and yeah, I've been pretty close with them, over the years.
That's
So that's
amazing.
adoption times 2.
Adoption times 2 for sure.
But his adoptive mom had stayed in touch with the kids. She would send them like gifts for Christmas.
Okay, so she had an open adoption.
Sort of in a way, yeah, but the thing is, I used to make chocolates like years ago.
Okay.
It was like a little therapy hobby thing. So she said, "Oh yeah, you can make chocolates for their Christmas gifts this year," and I did that.
That's insane. That's so
I'm just so thankful to know them. We actually we go on like a family vacation every few years. We're gonna go to Williamsburg this summer. It's just been a blessing. Like honestly,
that's a cool place to visit. I just did that vacation a couple of years ago myself. It's a cool place.
Where are you at?
I am in Orlando, Florida.
I thought of something that I saw on Instagram. Okay, cool. I have a sister who lives out in Kissimmee, actually. So,
what?
Yeah, the Puerto Rican side, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a sister and a couple cousins out there too.
Not Kissimmee. Wow, small world.
Yes, actually, her husband ran for. He's like office. Carlos Alvarez. He's something out there in Kissimmee. You can look it up or whatever. But yeah, so.
I think I've actually seen those billboards.
Yeah, because they
over down that side.
but like I said, all of me and my siblings are all adoptees, and I think there's the heart of the adoptee. Right?
Let me. You are such a breath of fresh air. See, I didn't know. See, God always knows, but I didn't know because you were going to be the one and the man that's going to speak to therapy and pray. I just see. I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Oh,
and people are.
It's helped me tremendously. Just to be able to rely on God and go to therapy. It's just been great because there are other outlets that I've gambling addiction, a little bit,
lot.
And I've been through that. But damn, I got to get my life together, and it's about knowing your value. It's like, who cares what anybody said about me in the past? Like, I know me. And people got to understand you. Besides assuming, there's so many things that people assume about other people, but they don't know why. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, it's just weird.
No, I was going to say no because you got my brain.
Okay.
So many people assuming things, but you don't know what's happening. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
in the background. You don't know why they move the way that they move.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
there's a lot, and what I think that people don't realize is that, well, first of all, I don't think anybody should just cut anybody off because they annoy them. Okay, I'll tell you what I mean. I'll tell you what I mean by that. So just because somebody's personality doesn't mesh with somebody, doesn't mean that you got to just disconnect with them like that. But then. On the flip side, know your worth. When someone does you wrong or someone is really cruddy, have your boundary and do what you got to do. It's either
a balancing act.
Yeah, because it's either that whole attachment stuff, right? It's either 100, oh, I don't want anybody to hurt me at all, or it's oh, I'll let you walk all over me. You can't be either way. Right? I don't know. It took me years. It took me so many years, trust me, to even.
You are preaching in here.
It took me years to be able to have this, whatever. Actually, my therapist said something one day, right? Because I was talking about some things I was really proud of, and I asked her. I said, "Am I a narcissist?" No, I asked her that, right? And from what I hear, if you think you're a narcissist, you're probably not, right? So she's like, no, she's like, you're probably just at a phase in your life when you're finally able to be proud of yourself. Right? I was like, yeah, I guess
and
that's
be okay
it.
with that. Yeah.
I guess that's it,
That's it. So my final question here, and I ask everybody that comes on the show, I want you to speak to a person who is thinking about therapy, but probably leaning towards not doing it because of the stigma and, all that. If you had to talk anybody into going to therapy, what would you say to them?
Yeah, well, I would say first, I would ask them what their like what their excuse is for not going. Is it that they don't have the time, they don't have the money, they can't find the right therapist? And whatever one of those things they choose, they're likely to be replacing it with something else. And, that's all I'm gonna say, right? So like what are you spending your money on? What is occupying your time? You know what else are you running to? That's all I can say.
That's a mic drop.
I just thought about that too when you asked that question. Like, so.
Ooh, that's it right there. You said it all. So I can't even follow that. So I'm not even going to try, but I am going to thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, it was cool.
I really appreciated having this conversation with you. Y'all go to therapy and pray. Do both. Do both for sure. And until next time, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie with the good? Oh yeah, what's the one?